Hey friends, it's me, your favorite YouTuber. We went through this really quickly in class today, but there was the smell of confusion in the room when everybody left. So I'm going to do a quick model of how to annotate for a prompt and how to plan the organization of your essay. I'm going to do this really quickly with the same passage that we used when we did the annotation model. This is Interchapter 7 from For Whom the Bell Tolls by Ernest Hemingway, written in 1940. The passage is super short, as you remember, and I'm not going to do all the literal stuff over here that you would have done. We already did the 5W type of what's actually literally going on in here in class, so I'm not going to spend a bunch of time with that. Instead, I'm going to focus my annotation on figuring out which evidence I'm going to use to answer this prompt, which is evaluate the soldier. This is code for characterize the soldier based on his response to his situation. So just a couple things that I need to keep in mind. One, I need to characterize him. Yes, everybody knows how to do that, but I need to be sure that I'm focusing on the responses to the situation. As we know, the situation is that he's getting bombed, and then he's like, I am afraid I'm going to die, and then he doesn't die. So here we go. While the bombardment was knocking the trench to pieces at Facalta, he lay very flat and sweated and prayed, "Oh, Jesus Christ, get me out of here." These three things put together, the prayer is the result of his fear. So I feel like I could characterize him as desperate at this point and wonder if desperation leads to religion, in quotation marks, because I don't think he's real religious, as we talked about before. So I'm going to use these three words, that his prayer is a response to these things that are happening, and obviously the bombardment. Oh, Jesus Christ, get me out of here. Dear Jesus, please get me out. We notice that Jesus is not capitalized here. And then we've also got some sentence fragments. This one is a fragment, "Dear Jesus, please get me out." And then, well, it's not really a fragment, but it kind of runs together. It's missing punctuation, which kind of lends this feeling of desperation just because the words are tumbling out. And then the next sentence makes it even more profound. There's a Christ, three pleases, and then another Christ. So this again is, well, this for real this time, is a fragment, which again reveals his desperation. And then what does he do as a result of this desperation? He starts making promises. If there's this conditional statement, I hope you guys can see. I've got this weird setup here where my phone is like rubber banded to my document camera, so I hope it's coming across okay. If you'll only keep me from getting killed, I'll do anything you say. And then we have a hyperbole. Really? Anything? You're going to do anything I say? Okay. I believe in you, and I'll tell everyone in the world that you are the only one that matters. Here's another hyperbole and another hyperbole. And then we have more pleases. Please, please, dear Jesus. And Jesus, again, is not capitalized. So we've got three instances where Jesus is not capitalized. I'm just going to make a note to myself here. The capitalization leads me to the conclusion that his appeals are not based on belief, that they're in fact based on his desperation. And then we've got the repetition of the word please, which shows up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Did I get them all? Okay, close enough. So then we've got the tone shift here. The tone shift happens when the shelling moves further up the line, and he's got some relief here. And this, again, is just a really clean, clear sentence. It's just a straightforward, nothing weird about it, subject, verb, and then we move on. We went to work on the trench, and in the morning the sun came up. There's this symbol of the sun coming up, and the day was hot and muggy and cheerful and quiet. The next night back at Mestre, so we've got even more distance from the fear that he felt at the beginning. He did not tell the girl he went upstairs with, so he's now concentrating on his own pleasure. He did not tell the girl he went upstairs with at the Via Rosa about Jesus, so this is the broken promise. And now he's moved to capitalizing Jesus. This, to me, tells me that he's calmed down and remembers the norms now. And he never told anybody. So here's this another fragment, which just sort of confirms or reinforces that he's no longer desperate. So he doesn't feel like he needs to make these commitments to Jesus anymore. Okay, so what we said was the fallback option for organization is to use chronological order around a tone shift. So my first body paragraph is going to contain everything up until this point right here. And then my second body paragraph is going to have everything from here downward. So I noticed that up here at the top, you can see him getting increasingly desperate. And as he gets desperate, his syntax falls apart. And I have evidence of that. And he has these hyperbolic promises that he's making. These things, and the evidence that I'm going to use up here is he's very flat and sweated, and then these things lead to prayer. We've got the repetition of uncapitalized Jesus and of the word please. So the devices that I'm going to talk about are syntax and the associated diction, so the arrangement of words and the actual choice of words and the order in which they appear, the hyperboles, and the repetition. And then in the second paragraph, I'm going to use the change in syntax. Sentences become more normal immediately after the shift. The symbolism of the rising sun and his new habits focused on worldly pleasure rather than Jesus. Okay, I mean, I don't even know if this is a new habit. Maybe this right here is what he does all the time, but we can't tell. So anyway, this is going to be the evidence that shows up in my first body paragraph. This is going to be the evidence that shows up in my second body paragraph. And this is going to tell me that my topic sentence here needs to have something to do with his response to desperation. I mean, who wouldn't feel desperate if they're being bombed? And then the next paragraph is going to be about how his response changes when he's not under pressure. And then, of course, what that reveals about who he really is. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful. Watch the video. Obviously, if you've made it to this point, you already have. And if you still have questions, ask me about it in class. Bye-bye.